reset that.
Clicker noise is going again.
Okay, cool. There we go. We're live. So let's see, where is the video countdown on here, by the way? Honestly, at this point, Yellow, we're already live. I'm not even going to do an intro. So welcome to the first edition of On the Clock Live with me, Jared, and we got some special guests here today with Harris, one of our analysts on the side with the Carolinas, and then, of course, Will, our senior analyst. We're going to have some fun today. So really, we're just going to do a full 33-pick mock, which includes the conversation picks for it was the Orioles, Diamondbacks, and then the comp pick for Sonny Gray's contract with the Minnesota Twins at 33. So you guys ready today?
I'm ready to go.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Sweet. Will's gone somewhere, I think. So he'll be back in a little bit, but we're kind of like there he is, actually. So we're kind of just going to go in order here. So I'll take 1, Jared does 2, Harris does 3, and Will does 4. We're just going to go right down the list and just have fun today. And then, of course, if anybody has any questions, feel free to just drop them in. We'll answer them as we go along here. Hopefully, we won't be running too long. I want to try and keep this to about an hour or so. But like I said, any questions, feel free to hit us up. We'll answer them. But yeah, other than that, hopefully today is going to be pretty easy. It's already been a pretty big adventure for me so far. So I think Harris may have heard about earlier the tornado that went through Garner.
Oh, it's brutal here.
Yeah, I really do feel bad for the people. It was right by the high school I went to too, so I knew some of the people. So I'm hoping they're all right. Helped them out for a couple hours, so wanted to shout them out first because they're going to have a rough couple of weeks here with Christmas coming up in less than 2 weeks. So going to answer the first question before we get going here. Dylan Dreiling from Tennessee. I actually was working on his blurb last night. This is a guy that didn't really face many lefties last year at Tennessee, but he came out this fall and was like, hey, I'm going to hit a 115-mile-an-hour line drive against a lefty in fall ball. So I'm pretty in on him now, just looking at some of the stuff that we have behind the scenes. It's really good contact, doesn't chase much. I feel like at some point, if he gets a full-time role with Tennessee this year, which I think he does, this is a guy that probably ends up in somewhere either like second round, maybe early day 2. That's just my hunch at this point. It's a little bit too far out to really project something like that, but he'll be rated pretty highly once we get to our top 100 ranks, which we're going to be coming up soon. So thank you, Kayla, for that question. And Kevin, on the PJ Moreno defensive upside, Will, you're free to jump on this too, because I know you've seen Orlando quite a bit, but I feel like his potential is going to be a lot better if he could figure out if he actually handles the outfield.
Yeah, I think to an extent that's true. I don't know. I'm generally of the belief that if you hit for power, you're a high level contact swing decision power guy. You can overcome a lot of faults even at the prep level. I think we're going to see teams more liberal with that than we ever have. Especially just because there's not a whole hell of a lot of top end prep talent percolating out of the summer. So to me, it's Orlando's a guy that there's some concerns defensive home. There's even concerns with age. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty confident saying it's the best combination of hit tool, swing decisions, and power amongst the preps in this class. And it's from the left side as well. We've seen, worse bodies go in the first round. I don't think that's we're talking about a concern of Orlando, not being a first rounder at this stage because of these faults or these hindrances. But to me, it's just, he does all the important things. and you're going to find a way to work around the other things as you move along. Obviously, if he comes out and shows up a cannon in right field, that helps his candidacy a lot towards making serious money. But he does the important stuff already, and the important stuff is producing at the plate.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I think the bat succeeds enough if he's stuck at first base too. It's obviously not like Nick Kurtz, where Kurtz does have that defensive upside at first base with also having the bat as good as it is. But you mentioned it perfectly. If he comes out with a cannon in right field this spring, hey, there's your stock rising, sir. That's the perfect scenario.
I think the floor for him is back in the first round, just because if we establish, this is a guy that has middling athletic ability and is stuck at first base, he's definitely on the level of Xavier Isaac, coming out a few years. What is it, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago. So I think that's kind of the floor, is that back into the first round.
Yeah, I like it. So
not a great thing to say about the number one player on your prep board right now, but that's just the way it is right now. That's the floor, though. It's not the most likely outcome. It's the floor.
We'll get in that call, and we'll talk about that later on once we get ready for the top 100 ranks. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, it's very unique, swing too. It's genuinely impressive. Just not even factoring the prep class, but the amount of power that he's able to generate with what is essentially a no stride swing in pretty much every count is crazy.
I say he's got that Tommy White 2-strike pitch where he's kind of bent down, doesn't really use his lower half all that much too. So, Kevin, thank you for that question. Hopefully, we gave you a pretty thorough answer there with Will's insight. So yeah, I'm ready to dive into this. Obviously, it's a little weird to talk because none of the top 3 teams that had the best odds got 1-2. It's Cleveland that had 2% odds, and then I think that's the Reds had a 1% odd to get the second overall pick. I could be mistaken on that. So yeah, we'll just jump right in. And the first guy that really pops in my mind for Cleveland, Will mentioned this the other night when we were in a call. They don't really go after college guys all that much. Obviously DeLauder a couple years ago is the big thing there, but they do kind of go after the prep upside more. But this year it's just a different case where the prep class isn't good. So I'm kind of sticking with the college side. I'll go JJ Weatherholt. I think it's the best bat in this class. And he's personally, when you look at the defensive rankings of the top 3, Weatherholt, Bazzana, and Kurtz, Weatherholt's going to get the chance to at least audition for shortstop, and the reviews this fall have been very good. So if he keeps it up this spring, everything works out perfectly. I think he'll end up being the 1-1 pick, and I think right now any of those 3 works, but I'll go with JJ at 1-1 for Cleveland.
I'll for a point of clarification. Just to be clear, it's not my statement when I made this earlier. It wasn't that Cleveland is averse to picking college players. It's that in my experience, covering the area around here, it's not my understanding of the organization based on what I've seen out in the field. This isn't an organization that's very concerned with going out in person and scouting college talent heavily, particularly at the D1 level. They're going to rely on their pre-existing video. They're going to rely on data. They're going to rely on workouts to help make those decisions. And what they're really going to do is devote their effort towards things that aren't as easily accessible in terms of video or data, which is usually JUCO level and high school level baseball. That's going to obviously change this year. There's just no way around it. You're going to have a heavy presence in multiple areas when you have the first overall pick and you don't have a really clear top end prep talent. As of now, it's hard to really project any of them going inside the top 10.
Agree.
Obviously going to be risers and fallers, and I don't think it's going to play out that way come June, July, but it does speak to the fact that they're going to have to heavily scout in person, this top end college talent, just based on, where their draft position is. But Weatherholt is probably at the best data of these three guys combined with defensive versatility. Like you could make an argument for Kurtz, you can argue for Bazana, but I think in terms of pure contact ability and ability to drive the ball and make strong swing decisions, Weatherholt's at the top of the list.
Yeah, I think so. Tyler, we saw Weatherholt a little bit. He's coming back from injury at the CNT this past summer, and like the little bit he played, you could just tell, like on the stage with some big bats, some really talented players, his at bats just look different. Like his swing decisions, his discipline, the way the ball jumps off his bat, despite like being half the size of some of those other guys who are out there, it's remarkable to like you watch his games on video and it's like, wow, this kick can really hit, and then you see it in person and it's different.
Oh, 100%. And like he was even hitting 104, 415 mile. Like I think that's what one of them was. It was like 3/4 of the way up the trees in the back lots during one of the like first games, and the ball doesn't fly at the USA Complex. It never does. He made that park look small, and that was probably an understatement. And this is also on one good hammy too. He wasn't running at all during that entire series. So, yeah, that's my first overall pick here. Jared, you're up at number 2. Who are you taking?
Yeah, so I'm going to go Nick Kurtz, first baseman out of Wake Forest, mainly because I want to see that bat play at Great American Ballpark. I think it's one of the most insane offensive profiles in the class, raw power with elite bat-to-ball skills. So just a guy that, I mean, you've seen him live, Tyler, out in the fall this year at Wake. Just insane what he can do with a bat. And I think that's where the Reds might play. They went Cam Collier, then Rhett Lauder the last 2 years. So makes sense to bring kind of a more safe bat into the organization.
Yeah, plus you think about it, Joey Votto's no longer the franchise first baseman. Nick Kurtz could be your next one.
Yeah, we got Anthony and Strand, but I don't know what that will turn out to be.
I haven't paid much enough attention to Cincinnati's like fun little team they got up there. I'm excited for what they have coming up.
I mean, they just brought in Candelario, I think, to play first.
Yep.
Maybe it doesn't seem like they really trust CES or Steer or anybody else like that.
Yeah, they got Steer listed first on the depth chart right now, but I don't see that happening.
Yeah, he's more likely a corner outfield guy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. That is Weatherholt, Kurtz. I feel like I already know who Harris is going with the 3rd overall here for Colorado, but
so I had a plan if Weatherholt and Bazana were off the board. I was going to go Vance Honeycutt, but I think have to take Bazana. He's number 1 guy on my board. Didn't get to see him live this year, but just from like what I've watched, the 5 tools, that same idea as Honeycutt. Honeycutt's more of the prototypical physical all-around player, but the bat for Bazana is just miles ahead right now. I think he's capable, maybe a little playing a couple different positions. Long term, looks like a potential like above average second baseman. May not be anything special defensively, but definitely capable of handling decent range, good hands. And I think just on the offense, we talked about on the same plane as Weatherholt, just a different kind of hitter than a lot of these other guys who are, especially size-wise, right? We talk about Honeycutt and Kurtz and a couple of the guys we'll talk about a little bit later. Bazana's on the smaller side, but the power he brings is just really remarkable. Like what he was able to do this year, adding some strength and doing a little more damage to the ball on top of his incredible discipline and swing decisions and everything like that. I think so Colorado went Dollander last year after taking a couple of college bats the year before. I think there were a couple of college bats in play for them last year. I think they definitely like to go that route. And I think as in this top group, which it could be whichever one of those top 3 fall to him, to them, Colorado, a couple different options maybe that jump up the board as the season goes along. But I think at this point, Bazana has to be the pick here.
No, I agree. If Bazana falls in your laps, I think that's a worthwhile investment. Plus, I mean, the pull side juice is pretty impressive, and I think it will play well to right field in that ballpark, especially with the way the ball flies. And he's also extremely quick. We talk about Weatherholt and not running this year. I think at the end of the day, Weatherholt's obviously the bigger frame, more pure strength there. I think he's probably more of like an average to above average runner. Pizzana is easily plus. And it is just impressive the way that he like books it down the line. I do want to answer a question here before we go on to Will and the Oakland pick. This is talking about another Tennessee guy from Caleb, but Billy Amick, do you think that he can hold down third base? I don't think he really played a lot of defense when we saw him in Durham for the ACC tournament, Harris. I feel like he's more of, I feel like he's more of a first base kind of defender at this point. It's kind of similar to what Jacob Berry was. It's just the bat's not as good as what Jacob Berry showed at LSU. But yeah, I think he's personally like a first baseman. They'll probably put him at DH with Blake Burke being Blake Burke and holding down first base, but swap those two out. I think that's ultimately their plan, is to kind of have Burke and Amick hold down first base and maybe try Amick at third base. But I just really don't think that Amick's that good of a defender overall, and it's really tough to kind of project him to stay there long term when he really hasn't shown us the kind of tools that you would like to see at third base. So, Caleb, again, thank you for the question. Will, you're now on the clock with Oakland. Feel free to go ahead and give us what you got.
I kind of mentioned this before we got on. I think at this stage when you're mocking, it's you can try your best to be like, oh, this is what they've done in the past. This is what they like. At this stage, so many things are going to shift. It's what I'm just going to take the player that I think is the best one available. And I think of this top tier, there's only one guy left that I think has a modicum of safety to him in a sense, and also like superstar potential, and that's Chase Burns. So that would be my pick here for Oakland. They haven't dipped into like premium, college pitching the last few years. It's been, a college catcher and a college shortstop, and Daniel Susac and Jacob Wilson, respectively. But I think those guys were typically safer bets than Honeycutt, who does have significant swing and miss concerns and swing decision concerns. That kind of the upside, he's a guy that I think could be like a Wyatt Langford type, where if things click, all of a sudden we're talking about him at the top of a class and one of the bigger bonuses. But there's too much uncertainty there. Now, while there's always a risk with taking pitchers, no matter the track record, no matter the raw ability, we are talking about a guy that's 6'4" with still room to grow in his frame and tickling 100, 101. As a starter, he'll sit in the upper 90s, with strong fastball life that misses bats, a really strong upper 80s slider that shows plus quite often. Some potential with secondary offerings, highly physical, very, forceful in how he moves down mound and with great arm speed. The violence, that's a slight concern, I suppose, but he's typically in control of his body. This to me is just a top of the rotation profile in the making. And I think it's of these, I would consider Burns, Kurtz, Weatherholt, and Pizzana as like a top tier, like the tier that separates itself from the rest of the really strong. It's not to say anything of the players below them. I just think that's kind of where the college class first separates, even if it's only by like a half grade. So I'm going with Chase Burns.
I like it, and you're not wrong with the top tier. It's really just those four guys, because you mentioned Honeycutt and having the questions with swing and miss. He hasn't really shown us a consistent enough hit tool to really kind of push him into that top tier as of yet. So say if he does it this year, okay, we'll put him up there. But as of right now, like freshman year, there was a ton of swing and miss. This year, the swing and miss came down, the chase rate came down, the strikeout rate cut in half, but his production was also taken at a toll there, like 12 home runs compared to 25. Everything kind of just cut in half there. I would like to see at least something close to like a 320 batting average in conference, maybe even higher than that before I can really say that Honeycutt's got like a at least average or even above average hit tool, like some people expect it to be. That's just where I'm at on it. And then even like Charlie Condon, you kind of still have some issues with swing and miss on sliders. And also, defensive positioning, because can he handle outfield? Can he handle first base? You don't know where that's going to be in a couple years. I think that's a perfect way to describe it with the top tier there. That would put me up with the White Sox at 5th overall. So we're going to give the resident Royal fan his Royals pick here today, which is good. With the White Sox, I still don't think we go to a prep player just yet, just with the way the weaknesses of the class is. But I would probably at this point consider Honeycutt or Condon at this point. I'd probably go Honeycutt just because of the fact that he's going to stick in center field long term. It's really good defense and at the 8. The raw power is really good. The biggest, like we mentioned, the biggest thing is, can he hit? If he comes out this year and shows it, this could be a guy to be 1-1. If he doesn't, we could be something as like a back end first round kind of profile. But just with the defensive upside compared to Condon's question marks with whether he'll be a first baseman or a corner outfielder at the next level, I think Honeycutt's a safer bet to kind of take here in this mock, and kind of just go from there, really.
Yeah, if I could jump in, I think that what's interesting about Honeycutt, you talked about cutting strikeout rate and a little bit better swing decisions this year. Got to watch a lot of him before he got injured, and it was definitely an improvement in terms of discipline. Swing and miss is still there, right? He's swinging through too many fastballs, not catching up to like velocity he should be crushing. But I think what's interesting about him is, obviously we talk about the frame, the size, the athleticism, the power speed combo, especially in a class where none of these top names that we've mentioned, guys, where we don't have any like true shortstops, other center field types. So he has a real opportunity to jump back atop this class with a big season and big improvements at the plate because of that upside that he brings with his defensive position and defensive abilities. I think makes a good opportunity for him if he has a strong year.
Absolutely agree with that. So, Jared, please don't ruin this like you do with your draft picks all the time. Who do you got here?
You're probably going to hate me right now, I think.
Oh, boy.
Potentially. Because Vance Honeycutt was a guy I was going to go with. Just for the Kansas City Royals, they're a team that's really needed a center fielder for a while. So that's why I was planning to go Honeycutt before you did. But pick I'm going to go with is Mike Sirota out of Northeastern. He kind of fits the bill of what the Kansas City Royals would want. High OBP, advanced bat combined with some athleticism. I just could see them going that route potentially. Just the way that they might, and they try to underslot and go big later on and spend money later on in the draft. So Mike Sirota seems like someone that could fit the profile, a position that they really need in center field. So I'm going with that.
I don't think I can really hate on that. I really like Sirota. I think he's the best mid-major bat. I think he's highly underrated, and there's a realistic shot that, hey, this is where he ends up in July. I like it. Mm-hmm. There's nothing for me to hate on here. Do you guys have any other opinions you want to put in on Sirota there?
No.
Just an overall really talented baseball player. Impacts game on both sides of the ball. Really strong body. Actually has strong pedigree going back to his prep days. Was a draft pick with the Dodgers coming out of the 2021 draft, I believe. Yeah, 2021. I get my years all mixed up. Everybody's.
Yeah, we're talking about 2024, but it's not 2024 yet.
Well, yeah, no, he was drafted by the Dodgers in 2021 as a prep and didn't sign.
Right, and 2020 feels like 3 years ago. But.
Oh yeah, it's a long time ago. But hits everything he sees. It's nothing. Jumps off the bat. A player, an offensive profile he kind of reminded me of. This is going to sound bad, but I think a large portion of people forget that the reason his stock dropped precipitously was an injury. Reminds me a lot of Travis Hunterman. Similar region of the country, similar production track record, similar with that performance, wicked bat speed. Just kind of reminds you a lot of Hunterman. I think the big thing for Sirota, though, with all outfielders is can he prove, that he'll be an offensive asset in center field, which Honeyman kind of figured he'd be relegated to the corner, and that also diminishes how you play.
100%. I like the comp there with Honeyman too. Harris, your Stags coming back through.
Strictly offensively. Scoring lines.
All right. Let's see. So we got St. Louis up next. That'd be Harris.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. The stack's gone away, so we're good now.
I don't know, man.
It happens.
Whoa.
Is it every time I talk?
Okay, now it's good.
Okay.
I don't know what hurricane we just had come through the podcast, but
Apologies.
so you got the Cardinals at 1-7 here. Chase Davis a year ago. Who we got here?
Yeah, I'm going to turn back to the pitching well. They took a couple of pitchers in the previous draft. It's going to go with Brody Brecht. I think there's a case for him to be the SP1 in this class. I like the size, the frame, athleticism, clean delivery, a little bit more of a track record of control than Burns. Stuff might not be as high of an upside, but you got sniffing triple digits. You got that wipeout slider. I think there's room for improvement in his overall arsenal and command, but like there's still massive stuff with a little bit higher of a floor than Burns, where I think that there's more of a reliever risk there with Burns. And I think the Cardinals have done a good job of this new wave of arms in the last few years, and add to that with one of the top pitchers in the class.
Yeah, I like it. That kind of fits their mold a little bit. My biggest issue with Brecht at this point is, say the command doesn't take the step forward that we think it will this year, and he walks another 18% of hitters like he did in 2023. This probably isn't even a first round type of arm, because there's so many question marks with the command. Will he ever throw strikes, even if the stuff's as good as it is? And like that Iowa staff has just so many guys. Like Marcus Morgan's gonna be a guy that probably pops pretty well. Cade Overmueller's gonna be another guy from the left side with an absolute hammer breaking ball, which is like 3,200 spin, like complete hammer. And he's already up to 97 from the left side. Like Iowa's going to be sneaky good this year if they can develop the command that we expect them to have. I think that was a big thing that hampered their pitching staff last year, because Morgan couldn't throw strikes. Brecht got better with command, but it didn't really jump off the page as much as we wanted it to. But if Brecht does turn in like a 10% walk rate this year, that's a first round arm right there. Will's going to have a tough task here, though. You got the Angels, and the Angels like to go after guys that are going to rise up quickly, because we've seen it in the past couple of years. So, Will, who do you got here?
I was just thinking about that. I was like, how the hell am I going to know that on December 10th?
Yeah.
How the hell am I going to know who's the guy that's like, jeez. Well, I'm just gonna go back to a vintage Angels pick here in lieu of because I just think it's too hard to predict. And there's some guys I'm looking at from the college ranks that I think could be quick movers. Although they've gone with bats, it's just such a hard thing to really predict. Like Seaver King might be one of those guys, but we have to see what he does at Wake. I love the tools. I love the bat. He said well over the summer, but it's just I'm talking about guys I'm not going to have taken. So I'm going to go to the preps for the first time today, and I'm going to take Connor Griffin. I think this is, we're talking about vintage Angels draft pick. It's who has the most outrageous tools and body from the prep ranks, and that's Connor Griffin. So that's where I'm leaning right now. It's been inconsistent over the summer. Was battling some injuries that I think had some effect early on in June, July. He's just kind of battling that right up through East Coast Pro as well. But we're talking, plus runner, plus arm, 60 raw power, could be 7. And a big question with the hip tool. I mean, it just feels like an Angels, prototype, top end prep pick. And in lieu of knowing how the guys are going to play, and it's a wait and see. It's projecting on who do I think is going to have like cartoonish, college numbers, and that's just really hard to do right now. So I'm just going to turn back the clock and go to an old tried and true of that Angels taste for the high variance but extremely high tool 70 grade body types, and in the vein of God, what's his name? Why? Not kid from Louisville that ended up getting kid from Kentucky. Joe Adell. It was in the recesses of my mind, but your Joe Adell type, super projectable, super tooled up. Some hit tool concerns prep that.
Oh, I like it, and I feel like this is probably at the point where that first prep comes off the board, like just projecting from what we have today. And it would tie for the lowest the first prep has ever been taken. The two that I could think of is 92 with Jeter. Jeter was 8th overall. And then 2020 with Robert Hassel with the Padres. So no records broken on this one, unfortunately. But that leaves us with, I think it's the Pirates at 9th overall, I do believe.
Yeah.
Ooh, this might be interesting, actually. My gut tells me I want to go back to college, but at the same time, kind of want to pick up whoever you would consider to be the best prep bat at this point, which I don't know if the Pirates really would bite on this now. Let me think. Yeah, I'm going to go Seaver King. Seaver King's going to be my pick here. I can totally see Seaver being a top 10 pick at this point. He's been tried out in center field this fall. I think he's going to get solid reps out there. He can handle shortstop, second base. There's some utility to him. The twitch and the bat speed is just insane in his profile. Already he hit a tank against Elon at 111 miles an hour off the bat. It was just tattooed, man. I personally love the swing. I want to see the whiff rates come down a little bit. I think the chase rate's a little bit too high from what I can recall. But if he lowers that chase rate and becomes an overall better hitter this year, I think he's certifiably a top 10 pick, and I think this is probably his best bet if we're projecting today. So I'll go Seaver King with the Pittsburgh Pirates here, and he doesn't have to leave the gold and black. He'll be back in gold and black again, so it works out.
Play this time. Jump up. Yeah, I hope he I think he's short.
Harris, your mic is doing the static thing again.
Yeah, I didn't catch any of that.
It was very Mr. Roboto for a solid 20 seconds. I think you're good now, so if you want to go ahead and try that again, feel free.
I was saying how fun it was to watch King this summer. But,
Oh yeah, you're free to go ahead and try it again.
Move on.
Okay, gotcha. So that brings us to the Nationals, who we talked about this before the show, but they obviously dropped. The highest they could have picked was 10th because of their. I do believe because they pay revenue sharing, they cannot pick 2 years in a row. I do believe that's the thing.
Mhm. Yeah, that was
And
what it
oddly
was.
enough, I mean they got the first and second when they did the roles for this. So, Jared, this is you, my man. Coming off of Dylan Cruz, what can you lead with this?
Yeah, so I was looking kind of at the Nationals draft history, like outside of Cruz. I mean, you had like high prep guys in Brady House, James Wood, Elijah Green. So I was going to go with PJ Morlando as the pick here for the Washington Nationals. They might go back to the prep route after taking Cruz, more safer route. So it's the direction I was leaning. I was originally going to go college bat at first, but just felt like this is kind of the Nationals board here and the direction that they might go.
No, I like it. At this point, would you draft him as a first baseman or an outfielder?
That's hard. I don't know. What do you got?
I mean, hey, it could be either or. If you want to go first base, we can do that. But
Yeah, we'll go first.
okay.
Especially because they have Cruz, Wood, Elijah Green, a lot of outfield prospects.
That's fair. That's fair. So that will leave us with the last part of the top third of this draft. Harris, this will be you. Who are you taking at 11th overall?
Do we have Harris?
Earth to Harris, can you hear us?
I can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you. Yeah, I'll do this. Okay.
I'm going to go with Braden Montgomery here for Detroit. I like the two-way potential. Definitely more of a future in the outfield, I think. But I'm excited to see what he does at A&M this year. One of these guys I was mentioning earlier, who I think we'll find a few of them in this next tier here, who's just like massive, big, athletic, good, like really good size, frame, and some room for growth. Like what he can do from both sides of the plate, and I think just the raw power that he has, kind of a not quite a five-tool guy, but just loud tools. I think that's an exciting player that can kind of add to the Tigers' timeline. If with got Clark coming in there, and hopefully like it's been a little bit longer than they had hoped to get things going, but I think things could start coming together, and I think he can be a quick mover at the plate. If he ends up being a two-way guy, it might be a little bit slower of a process, but either way, I think he's an exciting player who fits right into this tier.
No, I like it, and I kind of view Braden Montgomery and Jack Haley on the same level. We're comparing two-way guys. Like that's just where I'm at on it. I feel like Braden could definitely end up ahead of Jack. My mind just went somewhere else, but no, that's a pretty solid pick. I think Detroit will be pretty happy with that. So that's the first third of this done. I want to try and get through the second third pretty quick here. So Boston's on the clock. Will, this is you.
Just let's stop the fall here. Jack Cagley, no one's going to be a pick here. Just one of those deals where at a certain point you have to acknowledge that the raw physical ability and production outweighs the massive risk as well. Like there's just a certain point where one offsets the other, and I think when push comes to shove, I think it's going to happen here. Caglione, I mean, probably the most famous guy in this class. Probably the guy with the most name recognition amongst people that don't really follow college baseball, don't really follow the draft. He's the guy that they're like, oh, this is the guy that's like Ohtani. He hits nukes from the left side, and he's up to like 100 on the mound. Like this guy's, but it is more complicated than that, delivery wise. There's some awkwardness to it. It's not particularly athletic. There's not that, it doesn't look like right now there's been, a secondary that's emerged that feels, like it could be, a consistent out pitch, but you're betting on, him finding a home in one place or the other and taking off. Big swing and miss concerns, but also gigantic exit velocities. Defensive home, and you still have to weigh the fact that you might just roll him out, let him play both sides, and then let him show you what he can be. But at this point, it's just the physical ability and raw power and arm strength and arm talent on the mound. It's too much to pass up on at this point.
No, I agree. And honestly, with the Giants here at 13, I was going to take Caglianone no matter what if he's failed past you, because it'll be 3 straight years where they have a two-way kind of prospect just in their lap at their picks. So I like it. Caglianone.
Yeah, I had eyeballed that range of Boston and San Francisco when the order came out the other day.
Yeah.
That kind of seems like where he heading into the season. Obviously, see how this year plays out, but that's kind of where I have him pegged at right now.
Yeah, you're looking at the other guys that you're scared that it's gonna be a Caden Grice situation where just the contact never comes, at least on the bat side, and it's something's got to take a step forward. Fortunately for Caden, he showed immense pitch ability in his draft year as that 2023 magical season for Clemson rolled along. But Caglianone's also got about 6 or 7 ticks of velo on Caden Grice as well. So it's just, but you always have those guys in the back of your mind. Your Caden Grices, your Jackson Finleys, even. It's not that severe, but you have that in the back of your mind of oh God, there's nothing in this profile right now that I'm super comfortable spending a large amount of money on. You're acknowledging there's significant risk in this pick, more so than you would really like to stomach with a college guy, but the talent's just too much at this point. The raw ability is just way too much at this point to pass up.
100% agree on that one. So we got the Giants next. Giants have, like I said, they took two-way guys the past couple of years, Reggie Crawford, Bryce Eldridge. I feel like they kind of go prep this year, and if you're going for the best prep bat available at this point, I feel in my opinion, I think it's Caleb Bonner at this point. He draws the Brady House comps a little bit. Insane runner. I think he ran a 6.2 or 6.3 at PG National. I think he does a pretty good job of being a defender at third base. He's got the body for it. He's got the lateral agility to him. The power is robust. When we're talking about a guy that has really just shown off the power tool this year, it has been Bonner. He had a really, really loud PG National showcase. Continued doing it at area codes. I feel like at this point, Bonner is probably the next prep guy to come off the board here, and I feel pretty confident in the Giants' ability to go ahead and do it. So I'll go ahead and take Bonner here at 13. And that will leave Jared with the Cubs. So hopefully Daniel does not kill you for picking something wrong here. Or Tim, if you're still here, you have Jared's number. You will go after him.
Yeah, so the guy I was actually going to go your pick, Tyler, again. You've sent me 2 times in a row now. But I was going to go Tommy Tanks here, Tommy White out of LSU. Raw power, good bat-to-ball skills, some aggressive approach at the plate, and some concerns that he could be moving to first base only. But I think that's a guy that kind of has safe power floor. So I think that's the guy that the Cubs would go here.
Yeah, I like it. I think at this point it's easy to project Tommy White here. You mentioned the aggression. I don't like the chase rate. It's stupid high, but he has to bat the ball to kind of save himself there. Doesn't really walk much. I would like to see that get better. And you also mentioned moving to first base. The bat's going to have to perform there. I don't think he's just a clunky third baseman at this point. I don't think he's got much agility. I think ultimately his first base to bats can perform, but hey, if he lowers the chase rate, good for him. Like I'd be pretty impressed with if he does that, and also with the power. If he pulls the ball more, I'd be pretty impressed too, because this is some of the easiest opposite field power I've ever seen.
Kind of
So let's see. That'll leave Seattle. Harris, that is you.
you can me again. I think
We're losing him here. We got him.
Is it?
All right. I think
there we go.
There might be a couple of lefties with a little better stuff available on the board. But I'm going to go with a right-hander and Drew Beam here for Seattle. Seattle, like 3 prep shortstops last year. I think kind of go back to what they've done best, which is developing college arms. And I like Beam over guys like Hartle or Smith for command purposes. It's kind of like he kind of more fits the mold of what Seattle has gone after in the past. Not like an overly big guy, but strong and physical. Kind of like guys they've liked, Kirby and Gilbert, and I like the extension he gets and kind of that mid to high 90s fastball that kind of runs in on him, like comes in a little bit faster at that extension. I think he's got potential for a handful of good pitches. I think he's mostly fastball, curve, changeup maybe now. Where I think where he commands his pitches a little bit a tick above some of these other arms on the board. I think that's the way for Seattle to go here.
Yeah, it's a higher floor too. He's probably a back-end starter at best. At worst, is a guy that will give you quality innings out of the bullpen with pretty good stuff. The curveball is obviously the best pitch. I think it's above average. He's got a cutter that he throws to righties, but he really doesn't throw it all that often. I think the curveball is really taking that step forward that he really wanted it to, and plus the velo uptick. Physical frame, I do like that kind of mold for the Mariners because it kind of fits like that Emerson Hancock frame a little bit.
Right. I do think there's a little bit more upside than just a back end starter. I think if some of that third or fourth pitch really come along, if you can develop like one more like true out pitch, I think there's mid rotation upside there.
Yeah, I can definitely see it, especially if the cutter and the changeup take step forward too. Yeah. That will leave us with Miami at 16. Ian will hunt you down and slap you if you get this wrong.
He knows where to find me.
He's going to be living by you, too.
Yeah, I know. He knows where to find me. Just give me a light point. This one's kind of tricky, too, because we got a new front office. You had a baseball operations, Peter Bendix, take over for Kim Ng. So I'm just gonna go. I'm between 2 guys here. I'm gonna and there's another guy that in the wings. I'm gonna go with the guy that I'm most familiar with. I think this is where the PGM Orlando Falls stops. Like I alluded to before here. To me at the prep level, this is the most talented bat in the class. He's hit everywhere he's been. His BPs are breathtaking. It's some of the easiest raw power you'll see in this draft class.
I think Orlando was actually taken at 10th with Washington.
I took him with an Nationals.
Oh, he was? Oh, shoot. My bad. Oh, I thought you were – oh, never mind. That changes it. So Condon's still on the board?
Yeah, Condon's actually still on the board.
That's who I thought you said. I'm so sorry. Yeah, stop the call for Charlie Condon here. That's the pick.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Because I heard first base outfield, and I was like, oh, he's taking Condon. No, Charlie Condon. And I was also confused. I was like, why is he not asking me about Charlie Condon? I've seen him like 50 times. I've also seen Orlando a lot too. So that's you didn't go to me there. That ADHD, man. Charlie Condon, to me, there's him still being on the board here. To me, it's a no-brainer. This is ludicrous, raw power that's been realized in the games against Stuff. I saw him hit an absolute missed pistol off of Dolander this past April. Yeah, so it's just that's the guy here. I can see my lights flickering, so I'm afraid like my internet's gonna cut out soon. So yeah, it's not Dolander. So Cotton for me is the guy there. I don't really care where you put him at pick 16. The slider production's a little concerning, but raw power, ability to hit velocity, great body. It's just that's the guy here for me. And like I said, at 16, I don't care really where you put him, but I think in this instance, for his development, you're going to start him out in right field and let him play his way off the position.
No, I like that, and I think the Connie, you mentioned the one that he hit off of Dolander. I think it was like 115, like 480 something. Like it was ridiculously smacked. Is probably the best way to put it. So that brings us to Milwaukee at 17. I feel like this is a no-brainer for me because they do a very good job of producing pitchers. Hagen Smith is on the board. Hagen Smith is going to be my pick here. He's been up to 100 already this fall. He's added some weight. He's like 230 pounds now. The biggest thing has been the command. The command has taken that step forward. The fastball slider combination with a splitter and a cutter kind of working in there too. The slider is one of the best pitches in this class. If he can get the fastball shape to what it was as a freshman, I think it could easily be a top 15 pick, but him falling to 17 here in Milwaukee's lap, I feel like they'll be jumping with joy to have somebody with that kind of stuff at this spot. And it kind of fits like a harder throwing Robert Gasser kind of pick here. So I'm going to go with Hagen Smith at 17. Now leave Senor Jared with the Rays.
I'm going to stick with the pitching route and take Cam Caminiti, who's just recently reclassified for 2024. Mid-90s fastball guy who kind of needs to get some better improvements on the secondaries. I think a team like the Rays have been great at developing pitching for a while and have done it pretty well with prep pitchers also. Would be a good fit here. So taking him.
Oh, yeah. No, I like that. Caminiti, you mentioned reclassing. The secondaries, I think the slider's better than the curveball. I feel like he might have to ditch the curveball at some point.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel like it has a punch of bite to it. The slider's better laterally. He's got a good changeup and the crossfire delivery. The fastball jumps out of the hand. There's elite projection there. It's a really, really good profile. And he does have some two-way upside too.
Yeah, I was going to say also not taking it. It's a two-way guy, just left-handed pitcher only.
Okay, yeah. No, that'd be perfect for the Rays, I think. Harris, you got the Mets fan with the Mets pick. Go ahead.
Yeah, interesting to see the direction they go in with some new leadership here. I think the Brewers under Stearns typically went fairly often the last few years, just best college bat available, best bat available in general. And I'm going to go here with Jacob Cozart. I think it's an interesting fit with the Mets catching depth. Obviously, they went Parada a couple of years ago and have Alvarez there now. But I think just Cozart presents as the best bat left on this board. Was a little bummed didn't get to see him at the national team last year. Hoping to get to a few state games this year, but I think just the power and the power is in this range. I think that a lot there to put them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think with Cozart, he's added quite a bit of weight too. You could tell when I went to fall ball, he's up to 220 now. He's added about 20 pounds of muscle. His legs are turned into what I would like to call thunder thighs at this point. But the big issue with Cozart is the slider production. I don't think he's really seen sliders all that well. West threw him quite a bit. Duke kind of really got him on that mindset this year during fall ball. But really hammers fastballs. He's one of the best defensive catchers that we've seen in recent memory. I like the pick here. Toronto will be Will. We're at 20 now. Who you got, Will?
Geez. Now we're starting to get into the territory of college guys that I'm looking forward to seeing. So that means I haven't really had a strong opinion on them as prospects yet. This one's tough. Because this is also, like I said, he just picked the best player I think that's available on the board at this stage, even though this has been a team that's typically taken the best prep player available on the board at this stage, with particularly last year with the Mall falling to them. So I'm going to go with Cameron Smith, third baseman from Florida State, a guy with high prep pedigree, won first round money back in, and I mean like first round money, like $4 million first round money. Out of high school in 2021 or 2022, didn't get it. Hit the ground running at Florida State. Started freshman year, great all around performance. Big physical kid. He's got strong combination hitting powers, form of the wood bat, and at Hyannis. I think this is just kind of a good mesh point of what Toronto likes to do, which is to get left side of the infield guys with big with physicality and tools, and it's a sophomore eligible performer here with Smith, so there's some leverage there as well that he's going to be able to work with, but also what was his detriment in his high school class, which was being 19. With a lot of those guys now, it's a plus. When you perform right off the bat in college, now you're getting attention when you're young for that college class. So I think that'll play in his favor. He'll work his way up the board here, and I think that's a good pick here for Toronto. That's where I'm going, Cameron Smith.
I like it. And you mentioned that Cape, he really got better over to Cape too. And I feel like he's bound for a giant breakout this year at Florida State, because that Florida State team's gotten better. Well, I think it was like a 45 tournament streak that ended last year, or like 44 or 45. But they've done a really, really good job in the portal. They've got Alex Lodiz from North Florida, Cam Leiter's coming over from South Florida or Central Florida, one of the two. And they've just really turned that program around in the second year for Ling Jarrett. So I'm excited to see what Florida State can do this year. This leaves me with Minnesota 21. I was leaning a couple guys because I know Minnesota loves their high upside offensive guys. You think about someone that they've taken recently, like Walker Jenkins is a guy that really has a high OBP, really, really good bat, offensive profile is outstanding. I kind of want to divert back from that a little bit. And with that, I think Thatcher Hurd is going to be a guy that kind of falls into this range a little bit. He's already been up to 97, 98 this fall. He's added weight. He's looked better down the stretch too last year. He kind of struggled with command at first, looked better as it got along. Breaking balls are absolute hammers. The changeup's coming along pretty nicely. I think this kind of fits into a mold that the Twins kind of really like, with a physical kind of pitcher that has loud stuff with really a hammer, like I mentioned, a hammer breaking balls. So he's my pick here at 21 for Minnesota. And this kind of plays into a little bit of draft strategy too, with the Twins going to be at 33 in this one. So figured I'd throw that in there as well. And the last part of the second third of the draft goes to Jared with another draft strategy pick here for Baltimore.
I cut out when you said the name of who you picked, so I didn't even hear it.
Oh, Thatcher Hurd.
Okay, got it. So for this is the Orioles here. This one, it's really killing me not to go with bat, just given how the Orioles have developed their bats over the past. I was looking at guys like Griff O'Farrell here, but ultimately it's going to go Jonathan Santucci, left-handed pitcher out of Duke. Pretty easy starter's delivery on the mound. Pretty good 3-pitch mix. And so I think for the Orioles, a team that really needs some arms in their farm system, this is the pick I'm going with.
I like it. And maybe this is a bit of a hot take because I know Josh Hartle is kind of viewed as the best southpaw in this class on the collegiate level. I think Santucci's better.
Yeah.
I think granted, Santucci didn't really pitch this year because of the fact that he was injured. He had a broken olecranon bone back in late March, early April. But I think it's a better fastball. I think it's a better changeup than what Hartle has. I think they're pretty similar, if not Hartle gets the edge on the breaking stuff because Hartle's slider and cutter are pretty dynamic for what they are. And that's not to say that Santucci's slider isn't good. I think it's above average, but it's a lower spin profile. Hartle's got better spin, and I think the command you could probably give it to Hartle a little bit because Santucci does run into one inning he's overpowering and he's gnawing on the edges, and the next inning he's kind of struggling to land glove side. He can't really finish his delivery properly. He kind of struggles to get the command working. If he can get that worked out, I think he's far and away the best collegiate southpaw in this class. So that is that done. We got 1/3 left of this. I believe it's the Dodgers at 23 here because they haven't lost this pick yet with the Ohtani signing. Whenever that is finalized, I don't know if they're going to lose that pick or not. I have to look into it. But the Dodgers at 23. Harris, this is you.
Yeah, I had Ken Caminiti circled here for a while, hoping he'd drop. We're going to go in a similar direction with Noah Franco, another reclassified guy, athletic, projectable lefty. This is a little bit early in the year for me for prep guys. So I haven't really gotten a lot of exposure to a lot of these guys, but two-way potential. Scouts seem to like him more on the mound. Projection being his biggest thing. Athletic, smooth, fluid kind of delivery. Good mover in the outfield as well. I think they've kind of skewed a little bit more prep in general the last few years, and he's the top guy that I've read about.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think Franco's definitely got a chance to stick his bat too. It's really, really good from the left side. There's solid power potential. Doesn't really expand the zone much either. I think he's a pretty mature. He has a pretty mature approach for a kid his age, especially considering he's on the younger side too. He reclassed from 25. I think he probably starts a two-way and then have to choose one or the other. I feel like he'll probably end up being a bat, but I like it no matter what though. So I think it's Atlanta now for Will. So the Hotown kid gets his team. So
yeah. This one I think is a little bit easier because it's gonna be a pitcher. So this is a club that in the last few years, even across different regimes, has liked to go pitcher heavy within the first few rounds. We saw it, a streak of. I think they went back to back with Wake Forest pitchers with Cusick and Jerry Schuster. They went the prep ranks in 2022 with Owen Murphy. Went college this past year with Hurston Waldrop. I'm going to go with a college arm. I'm going to go with Trey Yesavage from East Carolina. We're talking power fastball here with heavy carry, tight slider. Works in the zone with his fastball. And really has a strong feel for that slider and hammering it down. Highly effective pitcher. Physical, it's just checks a lot of the boxes for the Braves. I think another pitcher you can consider here is Josh Hartle from Wake Forest, or even Levi Sterling from Notre Dame High School in California. Both guys, I think, have some pluses to their profile. Hartle's got a great body and a wide variety of pitches. I always kind of think of it as kind of this, Sonny Gray type pitcher because he's got all these different fastball shapes and variations. And a replete, command of, some good secondary options. But I just don't think you pass up a guy that throws this hard at the college ranks with, this strong of a slider that you think you could probably even improve on, and work on developing that curveball and changeup as well. With Sterling, I think it's just, I think the stronger preference here has been college pitcher. Sterling has, a really good fastball. great body. He's also a two-way guy, though I think it's, at this point, it's very favorable towards projecting him as a PO, pitcher only. And, shows really good stuff at the changeup, really good slider as well. And there's a lot of things working in his favor there as well that could go that route. I think Vucevic really fits the Braves mold of power stuff that they think they can even improve on, and the physical build that you see with guys like Cusick, with Hurston Waltrip as well. So I'm going to go Vucevic.
I like it. I really do like that. That makes it
I hope I
easier.
said his name right.
Say what?
I hope I said his name right.
I think it's just Savage. Or
That's what I thought too, but I figured you would know.
Mhm.
I don't know for sure.
I'll ask the ECU guys when I see him in the spring. I'm sure there's something that we're saying wrong. It's one of those two.
We'll know it come draft day because they got to get it right.
Are we trusting Rob Manfred to say his last name right? Or
Absolutely.
all right.
Pronunciation.
That's fair. He's probably on Duolingo right now trying to figure it out. That makes it easier for the Padres at 25 because they like going prep heavy. Levi Sterling's on the board here. Levi Sterling's my pick. You mentioned it. It's a really, really good body. It's a 4-pitch mix. The fastball is already up to 94, 95. Has more arm side run than like consistent ride, I think. Change-up plays really well off it too. It acts like a splitter. I think it's above average. And the cutter slider and then the sweeping curveball kind of really round that profile up. Really good body. I think he's a PO at this point because it's a super easy delivery and there's not really many flaws to it. And the best part is he's not even going to be 18 on draft day, which is going to favor heavily on some team models. I think he's the perfect fit for the Padres here and kind of fits their MO of going after prep guys with pedigree and upside. And I think that is just the kind of thing that they're going to go for here. And I think that leaves the Yankees at 26 because they dropped 10 spots with the luxury tax. I think the Padres did the same. Jared, you're on the clock here.
Yeah, so after the Yankees traded every single pitching prospect they had in the last few days and also lost about 3 others in the Rule 5 draft, I'm going to go pitching prospect. One of the guys that Will mentioned, Josh Hartle. I think it's just a guy who's a safe big league starter, safe floor, a guy who can kind of come into the system, be a fast riser for the Yankees in their system as well. I saw a jump in his strikeout rate from 2022 to 2023, and just kind of a guy who just fills up the strike zone and one of the best strike throwers in the game, the college game. So I think that's a guy that would be, at this point of the draft, someone that's going to be an easy pick, easy take for the Yankees here.
No, I like that. And the thing with Hartle too is the velo's gotten up finally, which is something we've been waiting on for years at this point. He's finally, I think he's up to 94 this fall, nothing under 90. The cutter's obviously good. Love the slider. And we'll mention the different fastball shapes. He throws sinker, he throws a 4-seam. There's a couple other things in there. It's a solid group of pitches. Plus, really a horizontal approach. So, like, he's all the way out here on his approach to the plate. He's also extremely lanky. Add a lot of projection to that. He could be throwing even harder in due time, especially if you clean up the lead lad block, which I think was the issue coming out of high school. So I really like the pick there. That leaves Philly at 27. Harris, that is you, my friend.
Yes, sir. I'm going to go with Griffo Farrell, Virginia shortstop. I think Phillies have gone prep, 4 or 5 years in a row. But I think going back to some college bats like they did a few years in a row before that makes some sense. I like O'Farrell here. Kind of lacks a carrying tool. Pretty much no power, I'd say. But excellent bat control, good patience, really attacks fastballs, good speed, quick air. I like the range at short. I think if he has to move over to second, that's totally fine, especially in a team if Trey Turner sticks around at short for long term. And I think his just bat to ball skills here are just, it's hard to pass up on this late in the first round.
No, I agree. I think he also holds the Virginia total hits single season leader or something. I think it's like 108 hits now. I do think he's a second baseman long term. I just don't think he has the arm for shortstop, but he does have solid range. This does also leave Will with Houston at 28. Who you got here?
It's Houston. So I've taught the big game about how I think this guy is going to be a first round pick, no matter what. It's my pick to click. I'm taking Carter Johnson, shortstop out of Oxford, Alabama. I think he's a first round player. I think that there's always one guy that rises up like Colt Emerson was last year. I think there's going to be a team that wants to take prep shortstop. Charlie Bates also could be a consideration here. I think might have a little bit more hype to him right now, given his SoCal shortstop, high level commit, been famous for a while. But Carter Johnson hit all summer long. He's got a great body. He's got shortstop tools. Sweet swing from the left side. This is just a prototype of a player, and especially when they performed all summer long, that I think gets taken in the first round. Somebody's got to take him, and it's my last pick in this mock. Houston kind of has been kind of just goes with the flow. They don't really have, I think, a specific type they draft with. I think we have some notions, but just because of how how limited they were in previous years, Dana Brown coming over now from a pitching heavy drafting organization, the Braves, it's kind of puts things in a little bit of flux. So I don't think there's really a prototype to pick from here. And like I said, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and take a stab at a guy that I think is going to rise up, pretty heavily as we, see him more and more. 6'2", 180. I think as teams see him, if he, walks out, 6'2", 195 with the same explosiveness, then he immediately shoots up to the first round conversation. But yeah, that's who I'm going with here, Carter Johnson.
I like it because you're the one that got me on Carter Johnson this summer, and now I'm fully in on him being a first rounder. So I dig that a lot. You also sniped me a little bit. I wanted to take him here at the Arizona pick.
Like I said, I put my money where my mouth was. I only got one first round take left, and I've said I think he's going to be a first rounder, so I got to take him.
I like it. I really do like it. So that leaves Arizona here. There's a guy that's really fallen down this board a little bit that we haven't mentioned yet, and I do believe at this point we should probably stop the fall. Malcolm Moore out of Stanford. Draft eligible sophomore. I think he's eligible by like a day or something, or his birthday's on physical deadline day, which is August 1st. But there's a lot to like there. I don't know if he's a catcher long term. There's some questions about mobility, and he might be a first baseman long term. But the power is incredible. It's a funky wind up a little bit. He kind of has an open stance, kind of similar to what Rizzo has, and it's a lot of toe taps to get timing right, but he gets in great position to really hammer the ball. Power really plays up the middle and to the pull side. I think he's going to be able to hit too. The strikeouts and the chase rates aren't terrible. You can definitely improve the chase rate a little bit, but I think at this point, if he's fallen to the back end of the first round, I think somebody's going to be really happy to take this kind of profile. Whether you think he's a catcher or not, roll with it. I think Arizona would go Malcolm Moore at this pick.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's not a situation where we're scared, of is there a carrying tool offensively? It's definitely the power of Malcolm Moore. But it is, a thickly built, potential, left-handed first baseman instead of a catcher, and with some swing and miss concerns. And I can see it's one of those guys. He's another guy kind of in the vein of maybe like Chase Davis from Arizona, kind of just not in any meaningful sense of like the player type, but the guy that's going to come out and prove it in Pac-12 play, and just reaffirm that he is that dude. And the age factor helps here with Moore, and that he hit so strongly in his first year on campus, and had the leverage as a draft eligible sophomore, much like Cam Smith. But there's some varying outcomes here just due to the potential for defensive limitation, the body type, and some concerns with chase and swing and miss.
Yeah, no, 100% agree there, and that leaves our man Jared with Jackson Thomas's Texas Rangers on the board here. Finally broke the drought. What you got?
Yep. Well, since Texas Rangers are still going to be trying to compete next year, I'm going to go with a guy who's going to probably skyrocket through the minor leagues. Is that someone they're going to be looking for? A guy, it's probably too soon to take him. Guy we had on in the last episode On the Clock, Tyson Neighbors out of Kansas State. 3+ pitches. Tons of spin on all of them. Electric fastball, great slider, curveball that are just absolutely disgusting. So I'm going with Neighbors out of K-State.
I like it, and I agree with the fast mover. I feel like if they really want him to be in the majors quick, they move him as a reliever like Kerkering.
They're looking for a closer now.
That is true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
They can get one halfway through the season.
Yeah. But no, I mean, this is a guy that could probably be in a major league bullpen now and really compete. You mentioned the fastball is insane. The breaking stuff. I mean, we mentioned on the podcast the other night, like that is filthy. And he was really, really giddy to really talk about it. So I like it. I also think there's a chance that he could start and maybe postpone a little bit on the debut, but either which way, I think he's a really, really good arm. And he's a little underrated because of the fact that he's been a closer, I think he outright has some of the best stuff in this entire class. Sure, he's fully maxed out, and sure, he's been really a pure reliever to this point, but he's shown you can hold multiple innings with his stuff, and I really do think that this is a guy that could end up being a first rounder, so I really like the pick. You're going to be picking up the scratch for Arizona here, Harris, because this is the pick they got for Corbin Carroll winning the Rookie of the Year. Who we got here at 31?
I'm actually going to stick in Kansas State and go a little bit of a potential reach at this point in the year with Kalen Culpepper. We saw him again in Durham this summer, and the ball was exploding off his bat, all fields, tons of power. He hit it one, I think I have it over here, 104 off the bat, 406 to straightaway center. It's an electric bat with potential plus power and a good arm motor. A ton of glove, definitely a good arm.
No, I really like that pick. Culpepper is the kind of guy that is, you mentioned the summer, like one of the best bats on the circuit, in my opinion. So I really like that pick. Will, this is your last pick. I do believe it is Baltimore at 32 for Gunnar Henderson winning the Rookie of the Year.
I didn't know we were doing the prospect picks, but that makes sense. So I technically was right, but also was wrong. That was my last first round pick. It cuts both ways. I'm just kind of looking at who we got left here on the board. I'm going to go back to what I know. Man, this is tricky because it's Baltimore, so you're going to be looking for college influence, but I'm going to go with what I know. What I think is the best talent left on the board here, Joey Oakey, if he has not been taken yet.
No, Joey Oakey's not been taken yet.
Joey Oakey, right-handed pitcher out of Iowa. It's just in terms of raw ability and mechanics. This is a guy that could be the hardest thrower in this class when it's all said and done. And we're talking about a class with Chase Byrne and Jack Cagliano. That's how forceful he is on the mound. That's how much snap load he generates. That's how whippy his arm is. That's how projectile his body is. This could be the guy that has the loudest stuff of any of the pitchers taken in this draft. That's the kind of upside we offer here. Not what I would call a traditional pick for the Michael Elias regime. And there are some college guys here that would be under consideration. I don't think Anthony Silva has been taken yet. Looking kind of further down the board, you got Carter Holton out of Vanderbilt. Ben Hess is here. You got Davis Diaz and Jonathan Bastini from Vanderbilt. Will Taylor even. But this is the guy I think that has the big top of the rotation potential, and he's going to have to throw more strikes. But we're also talking about a guy throwing very limited innings. Plays late in the season with Iowa at the high school level. There's limited appearances. Like I think his first appearance was PG National this summer on the showcase circuit. So there's a lot of cold weather, limited innings against high level competition. There are some additional factors I think work in his favor in terms of upside. So I don't know if it's the most traditional one. I think you can make a case for Will Taylor, especially given the fall he's had here as well. But I'm going to go with Joe Yoki.
No, and you mentioned being so late to get onto the scene. I think he never did PG National because Iowa starts their season so late. They start in like May. The playoffs really run through June. So he wasn't at PDP. He wasn't at PG National because of that. I think his first showcase was the National Team Development Program, which he was throwing against 2025s. But yeah, Joe Yoki is one of the best. He's one of my favorite prep arms. I love the slider. It's a really, really good sweeper. That brings us to one last pick. Before that, I do want to answer this question from. Go ahead, Will.
There's more.
One more.
One more.
Yeah, just one more. Because the Twins got a comp pick for Sonny Gray, so. And it kind of works out because I got the Twins at 21. But before, I think Isaac has a question here with Rodney Green or Loma Vida, top 15. I think Rodney Green probably has a better chance here of being like a top 15 pick because of the fact that his raw tools are just electric. If he hits this spring, I feel like he's a surefire first rounder. It's really, really good power. He's probably going to stick in center field in the future. He just really has to cut down the whiff rates because he had like 77, 78 strikeouts this year at Cal. But he really did look good at collegiate national team, and I do believe he's the person that gets into the top 15. If not back in first round guy, if everything really pans out. Loma Vida is kind of like a second rounder, I think. But he's still a really, really good offensive catcher at that point. So thank you for the question on that one, Isaac. And then the last pick here with the Twins, I kind of just wanted to go – I wanted to follow their high OBP offensive guy. And I was going to go for like a really, really deep dark horse because we're just having fun with this. And Sam Erickson, a Flower Mound, Texas high school guy, because he's a really, really good power speed bat that I really kind of dove into the past couple weeks. But I just don't know if I can really see myself doing it now. Especially if Anthony Silva is still on the board. It's not their typical pick at this point, in my opinion, but Anthony Silva is the best available right now. Really, 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 really good shortstop. I think he's a surefire shortstop at the next level, a really good arm. He's got really good defensive skills, range, agility. I think he really, really fits in that position. With the bat, he's really, really good gap power. I think he's going to definitely be hitting more this year. He has a really, really solid bat. I really like the upside here with him, and he is going to be the final pick of this. So that is our entire fun little first round mock done. So is there any any comments from you guys before we go ahead and wrap this bad boy up?
Data.
I'd
0.
like to just really quick before we head out, just want to talk about Billy Amick just for a second. We touched on him earlier with the question. He's a guy I thought about kind of in this 30 range, this comp range. I think big concerns about defensive profile and the chase rate, but he punishes mistakes like nobody else, as well as anybody else in this draft. And I think a little bit of tweaking of his approach and not chasing out of the zone, he could be right up in this group.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. Will, do you have anything before we go ahead and wrap this up?
Yeah, I think it's been talked about before, but I think it's true with both the college side and it's been talked about with the high school side specifically. There's a lot of depth in this mid, comp round, early second, back of the first. That like I'm looking down the board and I'm like, man, I could have taken this guy, could have taken this guy, could have taken this guy. And it's like this every year, but with this year particularly with the lack of the big high end prep guys, you're almost waiting on guys to click and waiting on things to jump. But it's just there's so much depth here that it was kind of a challenge to pick just one. Once we got to like 28 and 30, 28 was easy because I wanted to make a stand for a guy, but 32 I was like, oof, this is tough. There's so many guys that can take a step forward. And that's really, I think, going to be the strength of this class is that mid-tier. I think you're going to get a lot of good values in the second and third round. So it's just something I kind of noticed, particularly while doing this mock and kind of actually having to think about decisions that'll have to be made at that point.
Yeah, 100% agree. And the thing is, this is all going to change within the next couple months. Spring starts. I think Florida, Texas, California all start in like early February or like January or something, and then obviously college starts.
I don't know if they ever stop in California.
No, I don't think they do.
We started in Arizona. We started early.
Will Gasparino hitting tanks in like mid-December last year. I was like, did these guys ever stop playing baseball?
Georgia, 80 degrees in December.
Georgia, I know for a fact, scrimmages first week of February. First week of actual gameplay is the second week of February. And then you got JUCOs that are going to be playing in late January down in Florida, and and teams are traveling for that. I don't know if Florida's any earlier, but it's sneaking up. It's gonna be here before you know it.
Oh yeah, it's already flown by this offseason. Like, thank the Lord that it has, because it's been a little boring not being out of the field. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. So, we'll wrap it up here. So this is really going to be the last one we do for a little bit, Jerry, because you're off to your honeymoon on the 19th.
Yeah.
And really, we don't really have any plans to kind of bother anybody while everybody's celebrating the holidays. Yeah. So realistically, next time you see us will probably be sometime in January. We want to make sure everybody has a safe Christmas, safe New Year's.
With possibly Drew Beam or Dakota Jordan on. We'll see.
Yes. Or I can still try and get the Iowa guys on. I really, really want to get those guys on at some point. But yeah, we'll have a lot on the way. I think we're going to have a few other special guests come on here for like a few previews before the season starts. Mike Rooney, hit us up, please. No, I'm really excited for what we have coming up here. And I think if we do anything live again, it'll probably be just like a recap for weekend stuff once we get to the season. But next mock that we actually this time we'll take seriously will probably be sometime in February or March. We'll re-rank the top 100 and expand at some point here in the next couple of weeks. And then after that, really, it's time to get back to the field at that point. So on behalf of Jared, Harrison, Will, I want to thank you guys all for coming on tonight. Thank you for everybody for your questions. I know it wasn't a lot, but really enjoyed answering the questions and also really putting this together. It was pretty fun. So I want to thank you guys for everything. We'll see you guys here in a couple weeks. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having us.
Of course.
Thanks. Yeah.